Welcome everyone to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. In Hebrew name is a Bitchonistim. IDSF is the leading Israeli organization advocating for strong national security to defend Israel. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you to all of our supporters for tuning into this briefing. It's a great privilege to be joined by Brigadier General Amir Avivi, the founder and chairman of IDSF. General, thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure.
General, let's start off with the general update. What can you tell us is happening right now in this war?
So I'll start by talking about what happened yesterday. Two drones crossed from Lebanon along the shore in the sea towards Israel. The radars spotted them. The Air Force tried to intercept them. The Air Force managed, and then the other one suddenly they couldn't find him, and they were sure that it fell in the sea or was intercepted also. And it turned out that this drone continued its flight all the way to the training base of Golani near Binyamina, and unfortunately it hit the dining room, resulting with 4 soldiers dead and several injured. There was a sense in Israel that maybe this is some kind of game changer, maybe it's a new drone, and people talked about a Russian drone, but it's not the case. It's not a different drone from the drones we have seen before, but it's a failure. It happens. And it's sad, it's bad, but this is what it is. Hezbollah has launched thousands of drones in this war in the last year. Most of them were intercepted. There were some injuries. Overall, I think that the IDF is dealing with this okay. But I must say, today I discussed it a bit more in depth with one of our air defense generals. And he pointed to me that talking about the air defense, Israel has really focused a lot on building the capability to deal with rockets and missiles, but a bit less really focus on the drones. And therefore, we need to do some further build-up of capabilities, as this is not a technological issue. There is no technological gap. Israel has all the technologies and also the means, but the army needs to buy more radars of different kinds. It needs to procure some capabilities that some of them it had in the past, like the Vulcan, for example. And also in the coming months, the lasers will start being operational, and this can help a lot. So I would say overall, we have this under control, but we need to get better at dealing with these drones. And I have to remind that even talking about rockets, it's not 100%. It's 90%. You cannot really achieve 100% success fighting with so many elements that are shot in the air, and it's something we need to take in account. But as we speak, the IDF is continuing to attack fiercely Hezbollah. Today, also another commander of Hezbollah was targeted from the anti-tank missiles unit. The IDF is continuing its operations in Jabalia. Overall, the IDF is operating with 7 divisions, 3 in the south, 4 in the north, all the time proactive, all the time attacking and degrading the capabilities. And thus, the capabilities of Hezbollah and Hamas are being degraded. Israel is starting to look more and more towards the east, towards Iran, and also shifting the center of gravity of the buildup of the forces to Iran. Iran is not about what kind of attack Israel is going to launch in the coming week, 2 or 3. It's about a campaign to bring this Iranian regime on its knees and really deprive them from any future nuclear capabilities. And this is not a campaign that can be done in a week or 2. This might be many months. And as this is going to evolve as a major campaign, we'll see in the coming weeks also the elections in the US, and in a few months also a new president. And it will be very dramatic what will be the next administration's policies. And we really hope there will be an administration that will be proactive and will want to deal militarily with Iran, because there is no other way. The only way to really change reality in the Middle East is to deal militarily with Iran and attack their nuclear sites and other capabilities. If Israel needs to do it alone, Israel will do it alone. But it's much better to have a coalition dealing with this. Yesterday, we heard that the Pentagon approved the sending air defense battery to Israel that deals with ballistic missiles. We have seen this battery in 2019. We trained with this battery. We know the capabilities. Of course, it's going to enhance the capabilities, but also it's a message to Iran. Israel is not fighting alone. If they shoot Israel, they're also shooting American forces. And it's something they need to take in account. So we'll see in the coming days, probably these capabilities in Israel. And this will enhance our air defense security, looking at the Iranian threat. Moshe?
Thank you, General, for sharing all of that. And thank you to all of our viewers who are very actively sending in questions right now on our live Zoom. General, in our past briefing, you spoke about how Israel is very rapidly building out its munitions, its defense industry. Are you able to elaborate a little bit about how Israel's growing defense industry potentially can change the dynamic between Israel and the U.S.? Meaning, you just mentioned the desire for the U.S. to build a coalition force against Iran. When Israel is producing its own defense armaments and whatnot, will that change the dependence on the U.S.?
Well, obviously, you want to be as independent as possible. There is one thing that will always be dependent on the U.S., and this is the National Security Council and the U.S. vetoing decisions in the National Security Councils. Other than that, there is no reason to be dependent at all. The Jewish people have to be able to defend themselves by themselves, not be dependent on anybody. We need to be able to produce our own munitions. We need to have an army big enough and sophisticated enough to defend the people of Israel. We don't expect anybody to fight for us. But having said that, when we talk about Iran and the threat it poses to the whole globe, it's not just Israel's problem. It's a global issue and needs to be treated as such. Israel, I think that the stronger Israel will be, the more independent it will be, the better the relations will be. America likes strong allies, not weak allies. The first time America decided to take seriously Israel was after the Six-Day War. When we won decisively and we became a major power in the Middle East, then we became interesting. So we must make sure that we are strong. And if we are strong, we are relevant.
For sure. And then looking at our enemies in Iran, to what extent is this a war against Iran or Iran plus the countries that are supporting them? Is that a consideration for Israel taking a more aggressive stance towards Iran in terms of backlash from Russia or China, for example?
Israel is not in a war with Russia or China. It's true that China is procuring oil from Iran and bypassing the sanctions. It's true that Russia is much closer to Iran because of its dependency on Iranian capabilities. But our war is against Iran. We have relations with Russia. We have relations with China. We, by the way, in IDSF, have met both the Russian ambassador more than once and also the Chinese ambassador. Israel has relations with these countries, maybe with Russia not as good as they were before, but we're not definitely, we don't think we are in a war with Russia or China, but we're unhappy about the fact that they are supporting Iran and especially Russia, also selling to Iran capabilities, and this is something that worries Israel.
Now, this war obviously started on October 7th with Hamas, then it expanded to a full front with Hezbollah. Now the focus is Iran. So the question is there an end? Meaning, will there always be another enemy and this is going to be a multi-year war? Or can you see a point at which Israel says, we've achieved all of the necessary safeties and accomplishments in order to end this bigger multi-front war?
The destabilization of the Middle East, the way we are experiencing it, and the way Israel is dealing with it is because of lack of American leadership. And because America is not strong in this region. So how this region will look in the future, it's much dependent on the US. This is why I say that how the next administration will deal with the Middle East will define how stable the Middle East will be, and not only the Middle East, also Europe, also the Pacific, also North Africa, maybe also South America. The whole globe is looking at the elections in the US, waiting to see where this is going, because this will really define the stability or instability of the world.
Thank you, General. One of the viewers has asked a question, a couple are now asking a question about anti-Semitism worldwide, and potentially if that could be another front of this war beyond the Middle East, this axis spreading to North America, to Europe, and whatnot. Is that a realistic concern, the increase of anti-Semitism as a front of the war?
So I can say that when we in IDSF already 2 years ago wrote our national security assessment, and following that published my book that was based on this assessment, and now it's also available in English, we talked at length about the dangers of delegitimation and anti-Semitism. It's growing, it's a global campaign, it's not going to stop. It's going to get tougher and tougher. And this is why Israel must be strong to be able to assist the Jews all over the world and to make sure that Jews have a safe haven in Israel if they are in trouble. And Israel cannot be a safe haven if we don't deal first with the enemies we have here around us. I think that the reality with the anti-Semitism is pretty much out of control. And unfortunately, I don't see this changing. We really need to focus on empowering our people, on strengthening the unity within the Jewish people, and also with people who support the Jewish people. And governments, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge, and I think that because it's going to grow more and more, many Jews will emigrate to Israel and are emigrating to Israel. And this is our responsibility to make sure that Israel is safe for all Jews.
Thank you, General. I want to ask you a question I don't think I've asked you in these briefings since we have started on October 8th with these daily briefings. You know, in these briefings, we very much focus on the military aspect of what's happening in the war. That's very much in line with our mandate here in Israel. But I don't know if a lot of viewers understand your personal connection to Israel and the reason that you fight. Meaning, are you able to kind of share with us the role that faith, history, religion plays in both your connection to fighting for Israel and what it should do for all of us in terms of our defense and love of this land?
Well, Moshe, as you know, I come from a family that has been living in Israel 15 generations. My family arrived to Israel in 1620 to the old city, to Jerusalem. All my family was born in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem. My grandfather fought in the Haganah, and my father, as an officer, fought in the Six-Day War in Jerusalem and helped liberating Jerusalem. So as a family, we have a very, very deep connection to the people of Israel and to the land of Israel. And I spent most of my life outside of Israel due to my father's work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and educated in many countries. So I got to see from close what it is to be a Jew in the diaspora. I understand it. I've experienced it myself. And when I came back to Israel to join the army, throughout my career, 30 years of career, I really saw, decision-making that really undermined Israel's security, and also the fact that the education in Israel has shifted more and more from core Zionist values that explain why we are here, what we're fighting for, to, general liberalism, democracy, disconnected from our Jewish Zionist values. And to me, this looked really devastating. So when I retired, this is what motivated me really to build IDSF and devote my life to really building a concept of what is needed to secure Israel for generations to come and educate about that. The young generation, the general public, decision makers, the way we're doing. And I think that today, in the eyes of the Israeli society, especially in this war, they not only inspired and listen to what we say, but also more and more view many of our generals as future leaders for Israel. And I'm sure that us who are doing what we're doing in IDSF, educating, and this is something we'll do for many generations. From this grassroots movement, also leadership will emanate to lead Israel to a bright and safe and prosperous future.
Fantastic. I think that was a very important note to so people can kind of put in perspective both your position as well as really what the movement stands for. General, we haven't really spoken about Gaza so much recently. Are you able just to give an update on Gaza, the state of the hostages, and the Philadelphia quarter and all those other important issues?
So we still have 101 hostages that we need to free. We cannot finish the war without all the hostages back home. This is something that Israel must do. This war is not going to end until all our hostages are back home. Even if it means that the Palestinians stay in tents along the sea for years until this happens. Israel is operating with 3 divisions. One division is concentrated on Rafah and Philadelphia, really securing the southern part of Gaza, preventing any smuggling, destroying systematically all the infrastructure of terror, huge infrastructure that has been built in Rafah. And this is ongoing. They are targeting and killing terrorists all the time, on everyday basis there. And there's another division on the Netzarim corridor that are fighting in the area of the central camps in South Gaza, enlarging this corridor and destroying the terror infrastructure. And we have Division 162, Armored Division, that are now on the offensive in the area of Jabalia, attacking the area of Jabalia because there the Hamas is trying to rebuild itself. So there are dozens of terrorists that are being targeted on an everyday basis. The army closed all the Jabalia area, and it's operating very strongly to really dismantle this terror buildup and also send the people, the citizens, to the humanitarian zone in the south. Israel is trying to put the whole Palestinian society in the area that is designated for humanitarian aid, so they can get the aid there without Hamas seizing this aid. And it's a process. It's a process. There is fighting, but the Hamas is being really destroyed. Their capabilities are degraded systematically, step by step. Every day that passes, they are getting weaker and weaker. And we see more and more Palestinians that are really, really fed up with the situation. I hope to see at a certain point Palestinians, going against Hamas and saying, okay, that's it. This is not going anywhere. We want to get rid of Hamas and build for ourselves a new future and give Israel back all the hostages.
Now, why does it seem like Hamas are willing to fight to the very last ounce, whereas Hezbollah is not putting up the same level of a fight? Is there a difference in the mentality of a Hamas person versus a Hezbollah terrorist? Is it the difference of Lebanon versus Gaza? What is that difference?
No, I think that we're both very radicalized, but Hamas was built in a way that is more dispersed, they are less dependent on central command, and Hezbollah became really similar to a regular army in a way that they're finding it hard to function without central command. And because the IDF basically took out all the leadership of Hezbollah, there is no commands. So nobody's commanding them. They're operating in a very, not controlled way. So they're not effective.
Okay, and I think the final question is: are you able to elaborate on this concept of a siege in North Gaza and dividing up the citizens, the civilians, I should say, from the terrorists?
This is a process. It's happening as we speak. The Hamas is doing everything possible to prevent the citizens from going south, including shooting them and killing them. So they're really terrorizing the people. And the IDF is trying to get rid of Hamas and enable the citizens to go south to safety zone. But the way Hamas is treating the society is terrible. It's unbelievable to see it. They are shooting them. They really don't care at all about the people in Gaza.
Brigadier General Amir Avivi, thank you so much for joining this briefing. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters, whether you're watching live on Zoom or you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, consider subscribing to our channel and sharing it so that we can really bring the truth to as many people as possible. We're entering the holiday of Sukkot pretty soon here in Israel, so we're going to have a very different schedule in the coming few weeks. So please stay tuned in our emails to make sure you get the briefings that we do and follow our holiday schedule. Thank you so much to everyone for joining today. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.